about equipment.
What do you mean?
I mean, I've got way too much equipment.
There's never enough, though. I mean,
There's
I think if you're doing like video or photography work, like there's so much you need to buy, like
There's
bits and pieces and
yeah.
accessories and stuff like that. So even if you try to keep it lean, there are things that you actually need to buy. So no matter how hard you try.
Yeah, I think you're limited by your own barriers that you put in your head, right, and your creativity. And then once you become more creative, you go like, oh, what if I need that, like that bit of equipment or like that lighting setup or da-da-da-da, like I want to do this and I want to do that. And then it's just never ending.
But the thing is you want to try something as well.
Yeah.
So add something new to your repertoire. And to try, you need to buy the equipment.
Yeah.
Then when you buy it, you try it, and you decide whether it's suitable or not.
Yeah.
But by that point, you already have it, right?
Exactly.
But I think it's just part of the process.
Yeah. So how long have you been shooting for, Jonas?
Are we filming now?
Yeah,
cool.
We're gone.
There's like no introduction. Okay, that's good. I've seen your other ones where they just say, "Oh, say, hey, how you doing?" Is that, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, that's cool. I've been shooting, I mean, as a hobby ever since high school. I'm 40. I'll be 48 end of April.
Okay.
So 47 at the moment. So I think since high school, so like 15 or so.
Yeah.
But not seriously. Like, you just have like black and white film, just mucking about.
Yeah.
So always had a camera, but like really no craft to it. Just taking like social snaps of my friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just sort of did it on and off. I mean, I was actually living in New Zealand before I went to high school there.
Right.
And then after university, I came to Australia and I was here for like a year. Then I had my camera stolen. So I had a few years like without a camera. So I didn't really do much stuff. And I've had cameras like on and off and didn't really do that much shooting, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I always looked at like photographs and researching like photo techniques and stuff like that. So even though I wasn't practicing like physically, I was also like learning stuff or observing other people's work.
Observing and admiring.
I think you can learn a lot though, just from looking at other people's work. But obviously you need to practice it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of pro. You can't just look at other people's work and say, okay, I think I know what he's doing. You need to actually go out there, do the work, and see whether your intuitions are correct or not.
I think though that as a photographer, once you train your eye to see things, you can kind of work stuff out like as you kind of keep going. But I find for myself, sometimes I get really annoyed at myself because I'm like, oh, why did I see that? Or like,
What do you mean? So you've taken a photograph.
No.
And then the photograph doesn't reflect what you saw, or?
Yeah. Like it could be like that, or it could be like I just looked at a photo a little bit too long and then
Your own photograph?
No, someone else's.
Yeah.
Someone else's. And then I've thought to myself, oh, I know how he's done that.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that now.
Yeah.
And then that drives me to go and do a photo like that.
Right.
And I think it's kind of this thing like once you develop the skill to work out how other photographers have done stuff, you can't stop that.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly looking at it and you're constantly going, oh yeah, like I can see this and I can see that. Like you can see like little characteristics, little markers.
Yeah.
And I can't switch that off. That's constantly.
Yeah, I think because you have an interest in photography as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if for people who are not interested, you can explain, okay, look, I'm looking at this photograph, or I'm in a space and the light's interesting. And I mean, most people don't really care about lighting because they're not photographers or creatives.
Yeah.
So I might say, okay, cool, like cool that you noticed that, but then they'll look at something else. But for you and I, we'll probably be observing it.
Yeah.
And seeing how the light's working, where the light's coming from, how you can recreate it.
Yeah.
Only because we have an interest in it. But other people don't. We have an interest in something, then obviously you're always switched on to that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you like handbags or cars, or if you're into cars, you always look out for cars. I'm not really interested into cars. So someone say, oh, that's a whatever Corvette, this model. And I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, it's a nice car. And then that's it. But the other guy's going, yeah, it's like really great. They might have like a 5-minute talk about it.
Yeah.
And they're always switched on to cars, right? Because it's just their interest. So it's like no issue.
Yeah.
Their brain's always switched on.
Yeah. 100%. So tell us more about you. So you said you did school in New Zealand.
Yeah,
So
so I'm from Malaysia originally. I was born in Malaysia.
oh, so you
So
speak,
you're from Indonesia, right?
so you speak Bahasa.
No.
Oh, kenapa?
So shameful.
Oh,
Well, because I'm half. 'Cause my mum's European, my dad's Chinese.
right.
So I was born there.
Chinese Malaysian.
Yeah, he was born he's full Chinese, but he was born in Malaysia.
Yep.
But cause my dad, he speaks like very good English. So obviously my mum speaks English. It's her first language. So at home we only spoke English.
Right.
And I left when I was 11. And the plan was for us to go to like English private school.
Do you want a drink?
Oh yeah, you got some. What have you got? You got some water or something? Yeah. Ooh, fancy water. Okay, cool. So yeah, so I mean, the parents' plan was for us to go to private English school for a few years,
Yeah.
and then after that, transfer to like a public school when we were like 10 years old. And obviously, in public school, you speak Bahasa Malaysia and stuff like that. So I have a brother who's like 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
So obviously, he spent 3 years in public school, so his Bahasa is like pretty decent. And then he made like Chinese friends, so he can speak like Chinese like pretty well.
Damn.
But for me, when I was 10, I went to like public school. I was only there for like not even a year. Then my parents divorced, and then I moved to New Zealand with my mum.
Right.
You know what I mean? And plus, I was like very shy when I was young, so I didn't like really talk to people. So
Yeah.
and language is one of those things that to get better you need to practice. If you don't practice, I mean, how you gonna?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So that's the thing. But yeah. So I went to New Zealand when I was 11, and then I did my intermediate in high school and university there.
Yeah.
Then I got my New Zealand citizenship. Then I escaped to Australia.
What made you come over here?
When I was one of my best friends moved to Sydney
Yeah.
when I started university. So I think after first year university, like during holidays, I just like did like a 2-week trip to Sydney.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Like
Sydney's crazy though.
it's good because like have you been to
It's-
Auckland before?
No, I haven't been.
Like it's
to-
very small. I mean,
I
population
haven't-
New Zealand's like what probably like 5 million now. So it's like it's not a very big country. And the city, Auckland in New Zealand is considered the big smoke by New Zealand standards. But when you come to Sydney, it feels like, like far more productive, a lot more energetic, a bit grander.
I can imagine. Like coming from a smaller town to a larger city,
Yeah.
like Sydney, and just be like, oh my god, like it's overwhelming, right? Like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I took a trip to New York.
Yep.
Holy shit,
It's very different, right?
it's very different. I envisage it kind of like that.
Yep.
Auckland to Sydney versus Melbourne to New York.
Yep.
We're talking about like New York's the whole population of New York is the whole population of Australia.
Yeah, it's huge.
You
can't comprehend until you go there. But even when you're there,
Yeah.
you look at the stats, but you still can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
It's like saying having $1 billion, you can't comprehend like how much is $1 billion.
Yeah.
You know it's a lot.
Yeah.
You can't quite comprehend it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in Australia, I think like Australians have a different temperament from Kiwis. Like Kiwis are like very laid back, like very easygoing. So obviously the culture has a more relaxed kind of feel. You know what I mean? Whereas somewhere like Australia, like Australians, they're more assertive. And I'm gonna say aggressive, but I don't mean like in a violent way. But I guess they're more proactive. If they think something, they're gonna say it.
Yeah.
If they want to do something, they're gonna go for it. So
Even though Australians we shorten our words.
yeah, it's efficient, isn't it?
We're very efficient, or you could say we're lazy.
Yeah, so when you come to Australia, I think it feels like more energetic. I mean, maybe not Brisbane, because Brisbane's like pretty laid back.
Brisbane's very laid back.
Yeah, but Sydney is definitely hustle and bustle.
Sydney's, yeah. Sydney's as busy as Melbourne. It's just, I think, maybe a little bit more crazy busy.
I think it's more chaotic. I think the way it's laid out, because obviously I lived there for like 12 years.
It's in the geography, like is in
just
the
the
planning and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a layout because I mean, look at.
I'm glad you said that because that's every single time I go to Sydney, I'm like, why the fuck are there so many like one-way streets?
It's very chaotic. I mean, even because if you look at the street layout, like a maps,
Yeah.
you see like Melbourne has like a grid system,
Yeah,
right? It's almost like American style, isn't it? Layout. Whereas you look at Sydney, it just feels like very organic,
yeah,
almost like London. So I used to live in London before I came to Melbourne. I was there for 10 years.
right. What did you do in London?
I was working in a bank.
Oh, what?
That's one of those AML KYC guys. You know, right?
I was in banking and finance for 12 years.
Yeah. But I was in I was working in St. George Bank when I was in Australia
Right.
by just doing like admin stuff.
Yeah.
And I moved to London. Was it 2010? I moved there.
You know, admin's the backbone of any organization, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, probably, but still boring. It's not very exciting, but I mean, yeah. But so I went to London 2010. Then the first 4 years I was there, I worked as a PA for investment bankers for a French bank called Société Générale.
okay.
Yep. So did that, and then the last 5 years I was there, or 6 years, I transitioned to the AML KYC stuff.
Yeah.
Analyst. The pay's like pretty good for what it is.
Yeah.
Not exciting. It's pretty dry work.
It's compliance, very dry.
Yeah, very compliant. But I wasn't in compliance because compliance are the guys above doing more advisory. So the AML analysts and KYC analysts would be looking, working the file for the client, doing all the background checks, all that kind of stuff. Then obviously if they have any kind of issues or any questions about, the company policy, then you kick it up to compliance to get some guidance. So compliance are not actually doing the work, they're just overviewing the files or acting there as like giving guidance on the policy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, wow. So you spent 10 years in London.
10 years.
And then you came to Melbourne.
It's not my plan to be here.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you follow someone?
No. COVID. You can thank COVID for that.
What?
Well, because in 2019, I planned to take 2020 off for 1 year and travel around Asia taking photographs. So obviously I'm from Malaysia. I have family there. My uncle owns an apartment in KL, Kuala Lumpur.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan was to stay at KL, be rent free basically, and just use it as a base for traveling. Like go to India for a week, Vietnam for a week. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then plus I had quite a lot of savings in pounds, and then compared to ringgit or whatever it is, you can live for quite a while. Then rent free for most of the trip. Yeah. So I planned everything in August 2019. Gave 6 months notice to my work, bought all my tickets, made up my plans. Then obviously COVID started coming late 2019,
and
early 2020.
It really fucked you.
But early 2020, it was still mainly confined to Asia, wasn't it? Like Singapore, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, it's going to be like bird flu where, it's going to be like an Asian thing, right? Why do I need to worry? Yeah. So end of February, I moved out from my apartment. I left my job, final day. I resigned already. Put all my stuff into storage. Yeah. We went to my friend's place to chill out there for a few days, waiting for my flight, And then the day before I was meant to leave, my first leg, which was going to be Vancouver to see my friend, the Canadian government said, okay, any foreigners coming in, you can come in, but we recommend that you do 2 weeks quarantine. You know what I mean? Not mandatory, but I thought, man, I can't go to Vancouver for 3 weeks and spend 2 weeks locked down in my friend's apartment with his pregnant wife. I mean, that's not really doable. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go. Then the day after that, my next trip after that was going to be Malaysia and Singapore, and they said no foreigners at all, only citizens and returning residents could go there. So I thought, well, that's fucked. Then I was at my friend's place. What am I going to do now? So I told my friend. He said, "Oh, you can just chill out here." And I thought, yeah, but I can stay here for a bit.
So you basically
I was homeless.
You were homeless. Yeah, exactly. You were homeless.
Yeah. Exactly. So I was at my friend's place, and he said, "Oh, you can just stay here until work out what you want to do." But I knew that because it's a 2-bedroom apartment, I was staying in the spare room. But he lives with his wife, and I thought, there's the end. You can't just stay there ongoing, because at some point his wife's gonna say okay, why is Jonas still here? Yeah. So when that happened, I pretty quick smart. I just got an Airbnb for a month and a half. Right. So I just moved into there, and then the day I moved into the Airbnb, we had the London lockdowns. Yeah, so I was there for a month and a half, lockdown London style, and then I managed to get a flight back. They had a Qantas flight to repatriate Aussie citizens back to Australia. Yeah. So I managed to get the last seat on the flight. I came back May 1st, 2 weeks quarantine at a Pan Pacific. Very, very nice, top floor, king size bed. It was awesome.
Hang on. Is it Pan Pacific in Singapore?
No, Pan Pacific in Melbourne by Docklands.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yep.
So I did that for 2 weeks, got out. I have a brother who lives here. The reason why I came to Melbourne, because part of my trip was to come back to the side of the world, because I have family who live in New Zealand. Yeah. And my brother lives here in Melbourne. Yeah. So I thought I'd come to Melbourne 6 months, it'll blow over, then back to London or back to like Asia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I came here May 1st, 2 weeks quarantine, got out, chilled out, explored the city, rented an apartment, moved in 2 weeks after the lockdown.
So you really got
Yeah.
you got stuck places
Basically.
because of the lockdown.
Yeah. And then my plan was, okay, I was going to stay here until I can see my mum because it was like, there's like no travel in between New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
But then the borders didn't open up until 2022, April.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for like 2 years. And then I've been here for 2 years. I thought I don't have the mental energy to go back to London.
Yeah.
And I go back and look for a job and start again. And I had some savings, although I want to just enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I sort of used this time to transition into like a photography career.
Yeah.
So I think late 2022 started doing like assisting work.
Right.
So on some TV commercials, like lighting assistant.
Okay.
Then last year I've been just mainly assisting on like still photography shoots, like commercial and advertising photography.
Right. For a studio?
No, just for photographers. I mean, shoots in studios or locations, obviously depending on what the photographer is doing.
Yeah.
That's like a lighting assistant.
So how do you get like those types of jobs? Did you have to like apply for them or?
I think it's who you know. So what I did was like in April 2022, I just emailed like two photographers who own studios saying, look, I'm trying to break into the industry. Can I come down and have a talk? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I met a couple of them and I sort of worked out pretty quick that I had some gaps in my knowledge. Then in terms of like having equipment and understanding the industry. So I emailed, this is, you know what a gaffer is?
Yep.
Yeah. So this gaffer owns a lighting rental house in Port Melbourne. And on his website, he had this thing where if you're like a amateur filmmaker or whatever it is, if you wanted to hire equipment but have a discount, they had this like a work exchange program. So if you will work on shoots, then he'll offset like the time work up against the rental.
Yep.
So I thought that's a good opportunity. So I emailed him saying, look, I'm not looking to hire in a year, but I just want to get some work experience, like a rental house or whatever it is. So I emailed him and then he contacted me and said, hey, thanks for your email. We're looking for some help. Do you want to come down to help out on a shoot like next week on Monday, just for half a day, just so we can meet? So I did that. And then he was quite happy with me. And he goes, oh, go to a 2-day shoot end of this week for review. Do you want, it's unpaid, but do you want to do it? So I said, yeah. So I did it. So I assisted for like 2 days. Then he was happy with me. And then he started giving me like more work. And then beginning of 2023, I was on working on the music clip. And for some reason, there was a photographer there who was assisting. A photo assistant there who was assisting. And I don't know why he was there. I think because he was bored. And they're only paying him half of what he usually gets. But he just said he was bored. So I met him by luck. And I was just saying, look, I'm still new to the industry, just trying to make contacts, et cetera, et cetera. Asked him for advice. And we exchanged phone numbers. And about 2 weeks later on, I got a phone call from a photographer, from his wife who does his booking, saying, oh, like, so-and-so has a shoot coming up. We got your number from this guy. Do you want to assist this photographer? So I said, okay. So I assisted for a day. Photographer was happy. Then he started booking me for like lots of jobs. And then you start meeting other assistants and then they start recommending you.
Yeah.
I think that it's all recommendations, So when you're on a job, photographer likes you. He gives you like future work. You meet other assistants. They work with you. You seem competent and a good sort, someone who's trustworthy.
Yeah.
They know other photographers. Then a photographer say, hey, I need someone. Are you free? They say, no, I'm not free, but I know someone else who's free, blah, blah, blah. Then you come in. Then if you're good work, it's that kind of thing. And just like refers.
Yeah, it is. I think people forget the power of having people skills, and being able to build relationships. Obviously, you need to like do good work to then obviously get the recommendation, but in order to network and meet people, you have to be able to talk to anybody,
Yep. Well, I think because in the photography space, I was reading somewhere that when you're an assistant, it's like you're with someone for like 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or however long the shoot is.
Yeah.
So when the photographer hires you, he needs to like you. You need to click on some level because you're there for the whole day and he needs to trust you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like in the office where, you don't like someone, but you can't get rid of him. You know what I mean? So you have no choice. So your coworker is an idiot, but you can't hire and fire him. So you're going to put up with it. Whereas a photographer, he has a choice. You know what I mean? So they're always going to choose someone who to get on with or they can trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you say the personality is very important, but it's not like you don't need to be a super skillful. Just be a normal person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Don't be a dick.
don't be a dick. I mean that's basically it. Don't be a dick.
Well, sorry. It's not don't be a dick. It's like don't be too egotistical
Exactly.
and thinking you're like top shit because you're like, you
Yeah.
know, getting to work with all these different types of people. I think you're right. Like just be like a normal person,
Yeah.
you know, like.
You still have to know your place as well. I mean, it's like working in office. That
Yeah.
you know, there's a hierarchy. So obviously, you know, in the office, everyone has their own opinions. When you know, if you're working in a project, work's being done, it might have someone who's senior who has a very stupid idea that you have no choice but to do.
Yeah.
But you know that given the culture and the politics and all the dynamics, that you're not in a position where you can say something. You just got to do it. You know, you have to read the room, like basically,
Yeah.
right?
You have to read the room.
Yeah. So where's I going with this?
I think it's so people skills and like
Oh yeah, so knowing your place. So you just
knowing
need
your
like
place.
exactly. You just need to be able to read the room. So I think if you're in a set, because on a set you're working with different people, and every shoot's very different. So you need to be socially aware. And I think the best thing is just like to keep quiet, focus on your work, and if your role is to do X, just do X. Because I mean, it is a little bit political in the set as well. You know what I mean? Because there is a bit of a hierarchy. So the photographer talks to the client, you don't go and talk to the client. Any kind of issue, you go to the photographer first. Then he would be the one to go to the client. Because it's all about relationships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you know, I think that's a good way to do it in a photography set. Just know your place. And
So controversial question. What do you shoot with?
Sony at the moment.
Ah!
You've asked this question on a few people. You're just dying to ask this question, aren't you? That's your go-to question. But I'm pretty agnostic about brands. I don't really care too much. I mean, when I first started, I started with a Pentax K1000, like a film camera.
That one that's up there.
Where?
Up above there you go.
That's the one. The legend.
The legend.
Yeah, so I started with that, and then
That was my dad's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The most of these are my dad's.
Your dad's a photographer? Oh, he was a photographer?
He was a hobby photographer. Yeah.
Yep.
And then he was a hobby DJ, and he actually worked in the oil industry. Started as a diesel mechanic, and he worked his way up, and he was he ended up his second last role, he was like building bases, oil bases around the world.
He was like project managing the building of platforms.
Yeah, pretty much. And for a wireline and testing company.
Yep.
And yeah, so Vietnam, Russia, Saudi Arabia, like all through Indonesia and stuff. And
what's your dad? Is he Indonesian, Chinese, or
no,
European?
He's Australian. Yeah.
And your mum is?
She's Indonesian. Yeah.
Indonesian Chinese or native Indonesian?
Chinese Dutch.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So you have like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But they met here or in Indonesia?
Indonesia. In Indonesia. Yeah.
So how old were you when you came over?
I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved to Perth.
And how's your Indonesian?
Sedikit saja lah. I'm very conversational.
But you spoke English. You spoke English at home predominantly. Is that?
We spoke predominantly English, but then we always had like a maid who was Indonesian.
Yeah, we had. The same
you
as
know,
well, yeah.
and like mum would always speak Indonesian to her.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like you'd have to like pick it up, you know, because the maid would talk to us in Indonesian. Like she'd every now and then speak English. So I was born overseas, born in Singapore, lived in Brunei, Indonesia, and then we moved back to Singapore, and then 14 moved to Perth. So
why Perth? Work for your dad?
No, Dad was from Perth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so his family was there.
What's it like living in Perth? I've never been there before. I mean, it looks like quite nice in the photos, but what's your lifestyle like in Perth?
Look, I describe Perth as a big retirement village.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful beaches, like glorious weather.
Yeah.
But like nothing going on.
So good if you like the kind of
Sorry,
Perth.
Sorry.
Sorry, all you old people in Perth.
Look. So you know, like from the age, so I was there from the age of 14 to like 21, right?
Yeah.
So, or like 13 to 21, and like during that period, like you wanted to do stuff.
So what do you do when you're young and during your formative years in Perth? Just skipping pebbles on the beach, is that it?
Nah, I played heaps of basketball.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
I did. So 2 years ago, I reconnected with a friend from Perth, and she was here, and we caught up, and she was like, so what are you doing now? Da, da, da. Oh, that's my cat. That's
Yep.
Larry. I was like, I've got this corporate job, and then I do photography. And
Yep.
she's like, oh my God. She goes, you always said you were going to be a photographer.
No, you are.
And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. Like 23 years ago, 24 years ago,
Yep.
you said you were going to be a photographer. And then I was like, oh.
But were you into photography very much at that stage? Or what was your connection to photography when you were at that age, apart from your dad being a keen photographer?
So I studied electrical engineering.
Yep.
And I think I had like seen my dad always like pick up his camera,
Yep.
and he was always taking photos and all of that. Not that I got inspired by him, but I think just like from a technology point of view, like having something around to like capture things.
Yep.
And then I think I bought my first camera when I was in Perth, and I was taking like photos that you have to go get the film developed, right? So that was kind of like my
Yep.
thing. Like, and I've got plenty of like
Negative still?
negatives and like developed photos.
Yeah.
And so I think then from like the age of, I don't know, I think I was like 18, 18 till 27, I didn't take any photos. And then 27, I picked up another camera.
How do you know, if you don't mind me asking? In your 40s?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm 45.
45.
Yeah. And then it's just kind of like, I've just been taking photos ever since.
But back to your question about the Sony.
Yes.
Yeah. We got sidetracked.
I don't have any issues. I'm brand agnostic. I mean, I shoot with Canon now.
Yeah.
Just because I've invested so much money into the glass.
Yeah.
And the menu system just works for me. And my idol photographer, he shoots with.
Joaquin Carlson.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard his name on your podcast, and I looked him up. And nice work.
Yeah, he's got phenomenal work. And the fact that he has that YouTube clip where he shows you how he customizes it. Yeah. But then there's a whole bunch of other European photographers that I really like looking at their stuff.
It's a very different aesthetic in Europe. I think a lot of it's a bit more refined
Yeah.
than Europeans. And especially if you look at the Russian work, have you seen like Russian photographers?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the boudoir or erotic stuff, but just in general. It's very emotive, very moody.
Super edgy as well.
But yeah, just very romantic. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like almost like fairy tale vibes
Mm.
to it. But they've had a different aesthetic that's very distinctive. So when I see work, I can sort of tell that it's like a very Russian kind of flavor. I mean, it's not really a term, is it? But looking at some photographs, it's quite distinctive that it's done by Russian because that kind of work's not done by people from other countries. There's something about it, and I can't describe it, but you can sort of tell.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, and I think also like the models and stuff that they use, like you can automatically pick up. That's a Russian,
the Slavic face. I mean, they got such beautiful women there, and even the guys. I mean, they're good-looking guys, obviously, but have very interesting face as well, very interesting features. And maybe just like generations of hardship is just ingrained in their faces. But
I think though that a lot of because their work is so recognizable, I think that is because that country or that region, they've been doing that style for such a long time,
Yep.
and it's kind of like ingrained.
Yep.
Like Australia, in the scheme of things, is a very like new country,
Yep.
and so we're still kind of like,
I think we're more influenced by America, I would say, in the last, definitely the last 10, 15 years, I would say.
I sometimes feel though like we don't know who we are, so we try to be lots of different things, and
Yeah.
then it's kind of a bit confusing for people.
Mm.
Whereas like the Russians, as you say, you can pick a Russian photographer, you can pick a Russian artist, you can see a European photographer, a European artist, you know.
But I think it's part of the culture too. So if you, I mean, you've been to Europe before, have you traveled
Yeah.
around Europe?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got culture in their face like all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially like somewhere like London is really great because all the galleries are free. You know, National Gallery is free, and you got like Rembrandt's there and Da Vinci like artworks, and it's all free. Only thing you pay for like for special exhibitions, but the general stuff is free and it's like really high quality. I mean, and that's probably the exception in Europe. So I think London's like all galleries are free, but in Europe usually you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, art is just at your doorstep. If you live in France and you have like the Louvre and then the Musée d'Orsay, which is like amazing, all the other art galleries, and you walk around the city, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
So you're living in the environment, you know what I mean? So you're influenced by it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about it because, I mean, all the stuff you see is going to be influenced. And, you know, on the newspaper stands, you're probably going to see like old photographs from like France. And it's like second nature, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas somewhere like I guess if you went to California for like, you know, the very sun-drenched photographs, they're probably experts at that because that's all they know. You become accustomed to it, you know the light, you understand it, you know the vibe. That's part of the culture, you know what I mean? Like very free and uplifting and happy and positive. So it's easy for them to recreate the kind of photographs. Whether you're European, maybe you're not going to have that sensibility because you're not haven't grown up in that culture. So when living in Sydney, I had a Polish friend from Krakow, and he was studying photography at TAFE. And he was saying like he likes Australia, but he couldn't wait to go back to Poland because he loves culture so much, and in Australia, because it's no fault of Australia, it's a very young country. It's like no art galleries and shows and stuff. Whereas in Poland, he says it's so accessible. It's just there all the time. There's always things happening, you know, like opera, whatever it is. Yes, I think he really struggled with that he didn't have access to it. Whereas in Poland, just whenever he wants.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like from a cultural point of view, we do try to inject a lot of things here, but there isn't enough history.
Yeah.
There isn't enough history, particularly in the arts.
Yeah.
You know, and the great thing about Melbourne is that it is the arts centre of Australia.
Yeah.
You know, dance, photography, you know, painting, like all that type of stuff, events.
Yeah.
And so, and look, I know Sydney, you try to like take it from us, but you know, at the end of the day, they all come here. And we've got like the coffee culture,
Yep.
you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it is interesting, like from a cultural point of view, like Europe has more because they've been around for longer.
Yeah.
They've got like more of the famous artists that people would look up to, you know, because that's where it all is.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like a chain. You get influenced by things that happened before you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that DNA sort of passes down. It's like you don't learn it. It's just inherent in the system and in the city that you live in. It's just there. You're going to absorb it. Whereas, as you said, we don't have it in Australia.
Yeah.
There's no fault for Australia. It's a very young country, and look at the origins, and we are where we are because of the history.
The flip side to that, though, is that it is an exciting time to be in Australia because you have the opportunity to create stuff and to influence other people here, which is what I really like. So I look for inspiration outside, and I try to.
So when you say outside in other countries, or?
Yeah, like and outside of like Instagram,
Okay,
right? Because you can get kind of stuck looking at the same thing over and over and over again when you're kind of like doing a death scroll on Instagram. Whereas if you go to other platforms like 500px or like Behance, or other photo sharing platforms, you get to see how other regions are actually doing stuff.
What's really good on Instagram, if you get like, you can find compilation accounts. I'm not sure what they call it officially. I call them compilation accounts.
Yeah.
Where they're accounts where people curate work.
Yep.
And you got ones where like some guy owns an account. He just finds like really awesome like black and white photographs
Yeah.
from a certain era, from a certain country, and it's all populated with that. So quite often you get like really obscure photographers that you don't know of who was alive like 50 years ago or 20 years ago, but a very innovative work, like very, very interesting.
Yeah. Right.
But obviously, no, Instagram, if you just like doom scrolling, it's just whatever's popular people are going for, and popular doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
Popular does not mean it has any aesthetic value or cultural value. It's just what is popular.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of like a tricky thing. When you're doing work, you can't help but, I mean, you're going to be influenced by something because you're involved in media, so you're going to come across things and be influenced. You can't control that.
Yeah.
But you sort of need to have some kind of filter and be able to discern what is rubbish and what's not rubbish. And a lot of people think like what's popular is good, and they try to copy it. And I think this sort of degrades the practice of art if everyone's copying stuff that's fashionable, but it's no long-term survivability, I guess,
Yeah. I mean, it's all subjective though, right? Like what's value to you could be different for what's value to me. And I think as an artist, if I see someone trying to execute something, or like just giving things a go, that is far more beneficial and more valuable than not doing something. Like not posting, or like not taking the initiative to like plan something out and actually get things done. Because I think the real illness in like creativity and being an artist is inaction. So as long as people are constantly doing things, you will make progress. Because it's like that saying, right? Fail fast. To get somewhere. So as long as you're doing the reps, as long as you keep picking the camera up, or keep trying, or keep, and people are always going to say, no, you can't do that, or or you'll get rejections or whatever. It's kind of like your story, right? Like COVID locked you down,
exactly,
stopped you,
bent me over.
Stopped you from, putting your plan into place. So you pivoted. And you pivoted, and then you took the opportunity to kind of like go on this photography journey, and you reached out to people. And that I think is that's an inspiring story, because it's as a result of the pandemic.
Exactly. I mean, pandemic was different for everybody. Some people had a bad time, some people had a good time. Some people were like, no difference. You know what I mean? So it all depends where you were in your situation. So it's what's I going to say? What you said about the practice thing, I mean, it's like any kind of creative act that you're doing, you need to practice. You just need to do it to get better and make a lot of mistakes and try things to see what doesn't work. So you need to do something to see what works and what doesn't work. Because, things can, in your brain, in the mind of your eye, you say, okay, if I do X, I'm going to get this result. It's going to be great. But when you do it in practice, it's not as easy. Or maybe something you didn't factor for appears, then you need to deal with it. So obviously you need to start with a thought and some kind of idea and a plan, but then in the process of doing it, that's when you're going to learn things. And as you said, just doing it over and over again. So I think 2022, like May 2022, that's when I first started using my apartment as a studio. And I just said, like, I'm just going to get people in and just as many as possible. And I think I was doing something like, 3-4 shoots a week kind of thing. And like going into it, that wasn't my plan. I had no logic saying, okay, this is going to be the process. I'm going to learn very quickly. It was just like, look, I haven't been shooting like portraits for a long time, so I'm very shy, very like, didn't want to approach people. But I thought, just bite a bullet, just do it. And just to make it easy for myself, just say, look, I'm going to post an ad, and whoever replies, I'm going to shoot them. I'm not going to like screen them. They say I want to shoot, just going to shoot them. just to force myself to do it.
Mm.
And it worked out really well. So I worked, through that process, I worked out that, to have like 4 shoots in a week is actually a really good thing to do because, okay, today's the first shoot, someone comes in, I take photographs. And obviously they leave and straight away I look at the photographs. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing, okay, what's working, what's not working. Oh, this photographs are really shit. Why is it shit? I think because of this thing I didn't do or this thing that I did do.
Mm.
But then obviously after analyzing the photograph, I can have a solution in my brain saying, okay, the next time someone comes in, I'm going to try X. I'm not going to do X. I'm going to try X to fix this problem.
Mm.
And in fact, I have someone lined up tomorrow, which means that I have a chance to address my problems the next day.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then the next day, straight away, I'm going to say, what I learned yesterday, I'm going to apply it today and see if I'm right or not.
Yeah.
Then you do it. Okay, not exactly right, but I'm sort of like halfway towards something that's good.
Yeah.
And then the next day, someone else comes in, they have a chance to try it again.
100%.
Whereas if you're shooting like once a month, okay, analyze the photographs. Okay, I think this is my analysis of it. You can go wait 1 month, 2 months, and then someone else comes in. You're starting from scratch. You've got no momentum.
Yeah, and
maybe
you forget
exactly. You
and
forget
you're like,
what you want to apply.
Like, yeah.
But if you just keep coming in over and over again, so you
That's
get
exactly right.
many bites at the cherry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're going to improve like very, very quickly because it's a bit more conscious.
Correct.
But having that gap between is not very helpful. You need that momentum.
It's like athletes, training for the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
They're training every day 2, 3, 4 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to condition their body and condition their muscles so that they have muscle memory. So then they don't even have to think. It's just like turn on, bang, One of the things that I used to do when I first started out was I'd go to Burke Street Mall with my camera and just ask people if I can take their photos.
And what's the hit rate like when you ask a stranger? Would you say like half, 70%?
I think it was
Yes?
50-50, yeah. But 50-50 in terms of taking the photo, but 100% in terms of me working out an approach. And
What do you mean by that 100% working out the approach?
Yeah, so in life, you're going to get rejection all of the time. So you need to be comfortable with rejection.
Yep.
The best way to be comfortable with rejection is to invite it. And so going to Burke Street Mall and asking people if I can take their photos, you get some people like, yeah, sure. And then some people like, nah, sorry, see you later. And some people didn't even answer. They just like walk off, right? And so what that allowed me to do is condition myself in terms of, you know what, that's fine. It's okay.
It doesn't really matter in the end.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's not anything personal.
Yeah.
It's just that they didn't want to do it.
Exactly. And no one's going to go off and tell a friend, I had this like weird guy ask me at Burke Street Mall.
Yeah.
They're not going to post it, go to a news agent saying, oh man, I got this story for you.
They might have.
I mean, but it doesn't happen, right?
I was wearing a clown suit. No, I wasn't.
But it would people just say no and they carry on and you're an afterthought. Not even that. You know what I mean? Like you irrelevant.
But like I had the microsecond where I cared, I had actually already moved on to the next person that I was asking if I could take their photo because it's a thoroughfare of like people walking through, right?
But if you do it, if you do it in repetition, you still work out. You're learning as you're going along.
Correct.
But the repetitions, each one, you still learn something new.
Correct.
From it.
And then there's also the piece around being environmentally aware or being able to pick up patterns as to who would say yes and who would say no.
So you're judging a book by its cover? Is that what you're doing?
No, not judging a book by its cover, but just working out, people who are walking alone are more likely to say no than people who are walking as a couple or like in a group.
So you had a system for working out probability of someone saying yes?
Yeah, 100%. And so working out your systems and finessing your systems and your approach is just going to help execute taking photos and working on that repeat cycle over and over and over again. So the fact that you decided that you were going to shoot at your apartment and that you lined shoots up, in consecutive days, 100%. That's 100% the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the plan, but the outcome was that I learned that. Oh, actually, that was actually a good process.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that going in, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's so back to your point. You have to do it. And
you have to do it.
And you learn things that you don't expect, you know what I mean? Because there's a big void of ignorance there.
Yeah.
You don't know what you know, what you don't know until you actually start doing something. And that applies to any field that you're doing, not just photography or creative, like you need to get in and do it.
I think though that in the so as a result of social media and instant gratification and like all that type of stuff, people forget how much work effort is required in terms of gaining the experience to be able to do what you do, and I totally get it. Like I've been doing this for 11 years and I make it look easy, but it's actually 11 years of experience. So when
there's a lot of frustration involved as well.
There's so much frustration, like it's ridiculous. So as long as you put the work in and you learn from the work and you adjust and you adjust and you adjust and you adjust, and like you don't need to take 11 years to do it, right? Like the great thing about photography or any of the arts is that it's subjective and it's what looks good for me may not look good for you, and that's okay. So, as a photographer, first thing you do is you want to work out what your style is. I had no idea what my style was. I had no idea. So what did I do? I tried lots of different things. I even I did like a corporate event. I did like a charity. I did other people's family portraits. I even did jewelry, not knowing anything about how to do jewelry.
When you try, then you know what you like or don't like it.
And then I worked out that I just with my personality, I really enjoyed model photography and like actually dealing with adults. I don't want to deal with any other people's kids. So like dealing with adults, and like I didn't want to deal with animals or anything like that. I do still have a car portfolio, but like dealing with adults and that whole project management side of things of like organizing your hair and makeup, like working out the outfits, lighting, camera settings, organizing it all, and then being able to do the post-production. Like I really enjoyed that. Yeah. But then fashion and fitness, I think here in Melbourne was a little bit too competitive. So I wanted to do something a bit more edgy. Yep. Which is how I kind of fell into like boudoir type stuff. So
the first person you shot boudoir style, like how did you find them? Was it someone that you knew? Was it a partner or was it?
No, I paid her.
Yep,
I paid her.
Was it the first few shoots you paid?
Yeah,
just to get the experience.
Yeah, and to ask for so for me, photography has always been about how I feel. Like with a theme, I want to invoke this type of emotion, or because that's the way that I feel to it. Yeah. And so for me, I started in boudoir thinking, I don't know if I can do this.
But why did you decide to try it? Was that because it was just to push your boundaries the first time you did it?
Yeah.
Just to see what it was like, or
push my boundaries, but also because I was looking at photographers internationally. Yep. I had this idea in my mind that like if they're doing it, anybody can do it. Yep. Like, so they've worked out an approach, and I was like, I want to work out what that approach is, but I also wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with doing it as well. So, which is why I paid for the first couple, and I asked for their feedback. Yep. So I was like, how did I go? And they said things like, you made us feel really comfortable. Mm-hmm. You didn't pull any faces. I'm like, sweet. Okay. Cool. Yep. Don't pull faces. Yeah. Yep. Focus on making them feel comfortable, Mm-hmm. And so then for me, it turned into this. One of the key principles that I apply is people will always remember you based on the way you made them feel. Right?
Yep.
So, and even though my photos are always fantastic, everybody always leaves laughing.
Yep.
That they've had a good time. Because you know what? They did have a good time. Because I did crack a few jokes, or I did get into a pose, or I did take my hair out and show them how I was, supposed to use your hair. And then it's a referral.
Yeah.
It's a potential referral, because then they go and talk to their friends and they're like, hey, I had this shoot and he was really good, and the next thing you know, the friends are contacting me.
Yeah.
So
it's a trust system. I think especially what you do, it's like trust, I think, is a very big issue.
100%. It is.
You're much more vulnerable, plus you're a male as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's that. People are, are trusting I'm going to go to someone's home and I don't know I'm going to be safe and nothing's going to play out. If something happens, then what am I going to do? So I think there's like very different considerations.
Yeah. The trust aspect is critical because I'm asking, or I'm asking them to lower their guard and let their true nature come out, and that's I guess that's kind of the style of photos that I've fallen into. I didn't mean to, but it kind of like has gone that way. Yeah. And probably about 3 years ago, I got a comment or I got a message from someone saying, how do you get these girl next door photos? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
He means your style, like
yeah,
how do you?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you shoot a lot of like girl next door, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means. What do you mean? And then they're like, like the girl next door that you like grew up, as a kid, and you're like, oh, you really like that girl next door because she was like cute or whatever,
and down to earth, accessible,
accessible, and like pure, and like all of this, and
but still something about her.
Yeah, and so then I was kind of like, oh shit, like maybe that is what I actually shoot. And thinking about it, I was like, of course, like duh, like if I'm asking someone to lower their guard, show me who you actually are.
Yeah.
Of course you're the girl next door.
Yeah. It's a normal human being, right?
Like, like I'm asking you to take your masks off. Like, let your guard down. Just be yourself.
And that takes time, and that's much harder to achieve than you would think.
It's so hard to achieve.
Because I do portraits.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, no one's revealing any skin in my photographs, but even then.
I've seen a bit of skin. What are you talking about?
So even like doing portraits, and hey, double check. I know you have like a filming limit.
No, I've got a timer on both of them, so we're good. Yeah.
So half an hour, 1 hour. What's the record limit?
29 minutes and 59 seconds.
Okay, cool.
So I got the timer on 30 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay, good. What was I saying? Oh yeah, my photographs. So
you do portraits?
I do portraits, like black and white. You see my stuff. There's nothing weird about it. It's not provocative. You know what I mean? But even taking photographs like that, it's like yourself. I try to aim to get something where they're not putting on to show someone. They're not trying to impress someone or to look good for social clout. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying for them just to be comfortable and just hopefully just catch something about the personality of how they are at that point in time. Where there's no artifice. Yeah. But to get there, it does take time. There's some people come in, they're very comfortable in front of the camera, so you don't really do much work. But other people come in and like when people come in, like usually I talk a lot. Hey, how's it going? Just like general chit chat. Sitting on my table, we're chit chatting, and they seem like very open, very personable. Like talking to a real person, nothing fake. You lift the camera up, and straight away you can see like their whole body language changes. It's like just start getting like very stiff and very self-conscious, and it's like.
So what do you do when that happens?
Just take lots of photographs and basically, that's part of the talking, because obviously when someone comes in, it's not going to be mechanical. Okay, come and sit down, snap. Okay, see you later on, half an hour done. I mean, humans coming in. I mean, obviously you're gonna talk to them like a
Fucking humans.
Yeah. Why do I have to emote?
You bastards. Look, I love humans,
Yeah.
but I also hate humans. No, I don't hate humans. It's everyone's different, which is actually the beautiful part of it all.
But you meet interesting people and
Yeah.
different things. Everyone has a different
So many interesting people.
lifestyle, different ideas, different
Bro,
personalities.
You have
and
no
it's
idea.
good. Yeah. So yeah, and then people come in. Obviously, I talk to them a lot, and part of it's because I mean, someone's in there. Obviously, you talk to them. It's a polite thing to do.
Have you had any Malaysians?
No Malaysian.
Oh, because you can't talk Malaysian to them.
No, I can't. This English, bro. It's Australia. If you can't speak the language, go back. We call home office, get you deported. Assimilate or So yeah, basically, and part of the conversation is just to get them to relax.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of the photography is you get a good photograph when there's a good rapport or relationship between the sitter and the photographer.
Yeah.
When they're more at ease,
Yeah.
then you're gonna get closer to what you want, and they will let their guard down. So part of the conversation is to get them relaxed. And usually when I take a photograph, like I just ask them to sit in one position. Say they have like their elbows on the table and looking off in a direction. Just stay there for like 10, 15, 20 seconds. Don't feel compelled to move and just like relax into the position. And, over time, they don't need to try, but the more they relax, the more they're being themselves.
Yeah.
But the more they try to effect an emotion in the view of the photograph, that's when it falls apart because then it feels like manipulative, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel natural.
Yeah, right.
So usually my shoots are very slow, like very relaxed, nothing dramatic.
How long does a shoot go for?
At least between hour and a half to 3 hours, depending. I mean, a lot of it's talking, so it's not just straight shooting. It's like talking and, obviously
3 hours?
up to 3 hours. As long as the hair was 5
That's a lot of talking.
Yeah, then it's like I do lots of photographs, so I'll take between like 700, between 500 to 700 like photographs a session.
Yeah.
But usually what I do is someone's at a table and I just go snap, 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 and in the hand, like having like lots of little micro expressions or shifting the body a little bit because quite often it's that shot when they're transitioning from one position to the other. That's quite interesting.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And you can't time for that. You're just going to keep taking photographs and hopefully you catch something. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of photographs, and part of the editing, part of the creative process is to select which photograph works and to know which one doesn't.
It's interesting. You mentioned just then about continually taking photos and trying to get like those micro expressions. It's actually how I take my photos.
Yeah.
So yes, I've worked out a formula or an approach, and I'll just like continually take photos in between poses. So I'll be like, we're gonna go from here to like here. But I'll just continually take photos and I'll say to them like somewhere in between there is actually you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes out really good, and then sometimes I'm like, what did I do?
But that's the the one with taking lots of photographs. Before when I first doing photographs, you'd be like, okay, just stay still and then snap. Okay, change position, snap. That was a long time ago. I used to do that.
Yeah.
And then I guess the idea is like this is very inefficient because it's just so time consuming. And then then each time you have a new pose, each one photograph per pose, and what if it's like incorrect? And I thought it must be a better way. And I always like to watch like a BTS shot like footage of like photographers working. Do you know a photographer named Peter Lindbergh?
Yes.
Right. So the way he shoots, even back in the film days, he would just like have his camera on like automatic and just go snap, 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 and just like taking lots of photographs.
Yeah.
And the reason why he does that because he wants to capture that thing that you can't plan for.
Yeah.
So usually I think when he's shooting, he'll just get his models to act out a scene or to be doing something or in movement.
Yep.
Then he just pretend like a whole string of photographs, then select the ones that actually work.
Yeah.
So if you see any BTS photographs, he's just got his auto going, blah, blah, blah. He did the Pirelli shoot and for the Pirelli calendar. And I read that for each model, there were 12 models obviously, or 12 celebrities that he shot. for each one, he took an average 3,500 photographs for each one.
Wow.
Because he's just going snap, 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 snap.
Yeah.
You know, Naomi Campbell was saying when she shot from back in the film days, or you just hear just a camera shutter just like going off because that's the way he shoots. So I thought, okay, that's a good way. So I thought, you know, I'll start doing that. And I think I got a lot of dividend from that approach.
I think it's interesting though, because it's not because you're setting a scene and you're doing a role play. I think you have more of a chance of capturing the in the moment moments
Yep.
than the posy moments.
Yep.
Right? Because you're telling someone like you got to like be an actor and act out this story, you know. Like
Yeah.
I do it upstairs in the bedroom with the telephone, right? Like I'll ask a couple of questions first, and those questions will be, what's your favorite food?
Yep.
And what's your partner's name or person you're currently talking to, right? And then they'll tell me, and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to be that person, and I'm calling you, and you're going to pick the phone up.
Yep.
And then we're going to have a conversation on the phone, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to take you out for dinner, or we're going to go have that food.
So what you see is a natural reaction to something that's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like taking cues from acting, because one thing I've been doing
Yeah.
last year is watching interviews with directors on how to direct models, because there are lessons that can be learned from there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, every director has a different way of working with actors, and you know what they say, giving notes, which is like giving direction.
Yeah.
They call it giving notes. And some directors, they hardly give any kind of notes. Other directors give notes at a time.
Yeah.
And obviously, the way the director interacts with the actor has an influence on their performance.
Yes.
And some actors do not deal well with lots of notes, and some actors do not do well with not enough notes.
Yeah.
So you still need to know who you're working with
Yeah.
and what works, and it's all part of the skill. I think photography is the same as well, because you get different personalities coming in with different levels of confidence and self-assurance. And you still need to work out, you know, at some point, preferably early on, what this person is like and what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think that is definitely part of the skill. And obviously, the more experience you have, the more strategies you're going to have. Because in the beginning, it's like, oh, this person's a bit stiff. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
You just like, I'm going to try this, try that. I don't know what's going to work. They might find, okay, this approach works. Then when someone else comes in who's a bit stiff or a bit self-conscious, you still try the same thing, see if it works.
Yep.
Okay, that doesn't work, but maybe it's a variation of that.
Exactly. So you predominantly just do portraits?
Portraits. And at the moment, I want to start doing like more erotic boudoir stuff,
Okay.
but I don't know anyone. I mean, I have like no. So I've only been here for like three years. I don't know friends network. I've spent like first year and a half like in lockdown,
Yeah.
so I don't know any like girls who are friends saying, "Oh, do you want to do it?" But I think I'd rather, you know, shoot with someone first who is into posing for those kind of photographs.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to convert anyone. Oh, look, we did portrait before. Do you want to, you know, do boudoir photograph? I think it's a little bit creepy and a little bit invasive.
Yeah.
I'd rather find someone who's into, like,
I think you have to have a portfolio first.
Exactly, yeah.
Before you can like
Yeah.
approach someone, because that's just like
Yeah.
major creep alerts.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like something that's of interest, but not my bread and butter. I think I just like doing,
Yeah.
like portraits. That's
I think it is
what I
good.
like.
I think it is good to like try like lots of different things, because then it gives yourself like a little bit of variety
Yep.
in not getting bored or stuck on one particular thing.
Yep.
You know, like when I get like a creative block, I'll be like, all right, now's got to do an outdoor shoot.
Yep.
Right, where can we go outdoors?
Just to break the monotony a bit.
Just break it out. Or like, you know, 2 years ago I toured Australia, right? So I decided 2 years ago that in actual fact, my plan was to tour in 2 years' time.
2025, 26.
Yeah. And so 2 years ago, I was like, right, in 4 years, I'm going to start touring. And then I was like,
Touring for photographs or just touring for like a tourist to take?
no, touring for photographs. Yeah. And I was like, so then 4 years ago, I was like, huh? Why? Why am I waiting? Like,
Yeah, why waiting?
why? It just sounds ridiculous. So so then I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to start touring. And, so the first year, so 2 years ago, I did 227 shoots.
Damn, 2 years ago, and within 2 years or within 1 year?
That was 1 year.
Wow, that's incredible.
100
And you had a full-time. You work full-time, part-time, or like
full time. And I had like so I think I did like 170 shoots here.
But obviously there are some days where you're doing like 2 shoots or 3 shoots, right?
Oh yeah, I think that year I did one weekend, one Saturday I had 5 shoots. I was like, nah, that's
a bit much.
it's too many. It's too many.
That's a lot.
It was like I wasn't eating enough. And I was like fucking dehydrated. It's like
then you need to edit it. That's
started to get a headache.
That's the other pain. It's the editing. Is the pain. Shooting is the easy part. When you start editing.
Yeah. And then so last year I toured again, and it's interesting. Like once people know that you're touring,
yep,
and they missed you the last time, they're like, oh, I need
so I have fans.
Yeah.
So how does this work? So I mean, I've seen on Instagram some people do like obviously the boudoir photographs, and they do go on tour, and they have like set dates.
Yeah.
So how do they usually work? They out of their own pocket just rent a place and hope that when they go to that location and they have the apartment ready, that people will show up and book them for shoots. Is that usually how it works?
Look, ideally, like everything's prepaid, and everything's kind of like done.
So you get expressions of interest for us.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm potentially thinking about going to Perth.
Correct.
You get 3 people book you.
Yeah.
Confirm. Then you.
Correct. Yeah. But like the first year, I did it the other way.
Yeah.
I like booked, and I was like, hey, I'm coming. It's kind of a little bit like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come.
If they don't.
If you go, they will come. And look, most of them came.
Oh, that's good.
Most of them came to the shoots. Like I'm very like I understand that sometimes life will throw curveballs and things come up or stuff. So cancellations, whatever. But yeah, like I think ideally it is gaining the interest, securing the deposit, securing who you're going to be shooting with, and then booking and paying and doing all that type of stuff. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes you do have to take the risk.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how that worked. Yeah, but okay, that still makes sense.
So 2 years I did 227. Last year I did 187.
187 is a bit less wear and tear on you emotionally and physically.
Yeah, last year I did I fell sick. Had to take some time off. So like things really kind of like slowed down. And then the year I did 227 was actually the year my best mate passed away due to COVID.
That's quite tough.
Yeah.
How did you manage that? I mean,
well, I was.
Or were you being busy to deal with his passing?
No, I think I was pretty annihilated like the first 6 months.
After his passing?
Yeah, after his passing. And then something happened. And I was just like, let's get this into overdrive.
Life doesn't stop.
No, life doesn't stop. So I was like, fuck it. Yeah. Like, let's go. Yeah. And then the second 6 months after he passed, I think he like really I still think he's there, but he like opened up doors for me,
In what way?
Like I had a film festival reach out to me. They asked me to put a film together, submit a film.
Yeah.
I had I joined the catnip team. Like
what's a catnip?
Catnip. So it's a group of people who So it's an Instagram account, Catnip. So I manage that account, and I, take photos and cat theme.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also that year, like I was having like international phone calls with CEOs of Playboy.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So you said his passing was like an impetus
Yeah.
because you had that moment of like grieving, then you thought this can't go on, and then you decided
Yeah.
to
Well,
do something.
well, and it's on my fridge, but I'll show you later. But so at the 6-month mark, for his birthday, I went to his parents' place with my mate from Perth as well. And his parents, they had gone to go see a spiritual healer in Queensland. And this spiritual healer had given them a deck of cards, and on every card was one word. And the idea was that they would pull one card out every day, and that was the word that Christian was telling them to live by for that day. Anyway, so we went to Bendigo because that's where he's from. And so we've got so his mum, his dad, his sister, his 2 aunties, me and my other best mate. And his mum pulls out this card and she tells us this story. So she hands the cards around and his sister gets love. His aunt gets joy. My other best mate from Perth, he got prosperity, and his mum says, "Oh, we've seen all these cards before, so these are repeat things." So it gets to me, and I pull out this card, and his mum says, "We've never seen that card before."
And what was it? Can you reveal it, or was that private?
No, I can reveal it. Yeah. It's the word surrender.
Surrender. Well, that's a very different one from the rest, isn't it? That's a very philosophical word to be pulling out for cards, given the context.
Yeah.
So how did you interpret that? So how did you react to that when you got it?
So for me, it was I was very confused to begin with, but then I think surrendering to the process, surrendering to accepting things that are thrown at you, surrendering to being open-minded and being an open person, allows more energy to be kind of absorbed to then develop, within yourself, so that you could then use that to then propel yourself forward.
So being accepting, more open, less resisting.
Yeah, less resisting, right? And so I think, from a photography point of view, it was very much surrender to the fact that, hey, I've worked out this thing and I'm just I'm continually going on with it, and I'm meeting lots of people, and these opportunities were presenting themselves, and I was accepting it, and I just kept going, right? And so, so that card is still on my fridge next to a photo of him, and I swear at him every morning.
Why?
Because I'm like, you put me in this place. Now I can't leave.
I can't leave.
And I'm so I'm so thankful, and it's so good.
But so sad that something tragic like that. It's like bittersweet, It's like when I was living in London, one of my flatmates had a stepdad lived in New Zealand, because I'm from New Zealand, and his stepdad got cancer. He was going back and forth between New Zealand and Australia. He really loved his stepdad, and his stepdad passed away, and he got a decent inheritance. Then he bought a place, and I always thought it's cool that he managed to buy a place in London, but it's bittersweet that he had to lose his stepdad, who he loved, to get it. You know what I mean? It's it's great he's got a house, but at the same time, it's his stepdad had to pass away. So it's a little bit I don't know what the word is, but it's just bittersweet, I suppose.
Yeah, it's totally,
because you'd rather have your friend around as opposed to you know what I mean.
And look, I'll always miss him. And I always think about him every year.
But
and
the surrender thing is. So I was just thinking when you were saying it is obviously it's accepting things that happen, not being resistant, and there's a part of it is like there are also things that are out of your control.
yeah,
So you have to accept it. You
correct.
don't want it, you don't like it, but you have to accept it. And if you're resisting and saying you don't want to accept it, you can't accept it. Like there's going to be inner turmoil, and you can't go on with life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people like, yeah, situation shit. Then just you have to like make the best of it or try to improve. That is the best way to deal with it.
Yeah,
Not being resentful or why me or I don't like it and just complaining
Yeah.
over time, because that will never end. If you're just stuck in a situation, that will never end. Your brain can just replay that thought over and over again, and you'll be stuck for years.
Exactly. And I think one of the key things that you said just then is like, you can only control what you can control. So for me, I know like probably in the last 12 months, I've really tried to focus in on not really giving a fuck if I can't control something.
Yep.
Because if I can't control it, there was no point me wasting any energy.
Actually, the most things in life you do not control,
Yeah.
because everything else is under the control of someone else. It's someone else's actions.
Yeah.
And you can't control it. Whether you get a job offer, I mean, you can put a best case forward. You can try to influence the process, but
Yeah.
ultimately, it's out of your hands.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
what someone else decides to do,
Exactly.
whether it involves you or not.
Yeah.
Like anything, like to the politics. So yeah, and you have to accept it. That's but it's easy if you just focus on what you can control. I think you mentally you're gonna feel better.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%. And your mental health is so much
Yeah.
more important than anything else. So if you're not worrying about something that you can't control about, like that's completely fine, you know?
And that's also why I started doing like the photographs in my apartment, because so obviously I moved in there 2021,
Hmm.
and it's got like, I've got big windows and self-facing, very nice light coming in. I thought this would be a great space for a studio, but I thought it's a bit weird, like a guy to ask someone, "Hey, you want to take some portraits?" and they say yes, and you say, "Oh, come back to my apartment." I mean, that just sounds like weird. Doesn't matter if you're approaching a guy or a girl. So I was always very hesitant because there's thought in my brain.
You
Then
should just say come to my studio.
I know. But then they show up and it's a house. You know what I mean? Like it's a bit like, hey, what's this bait and switch? You know, even dodgier.
That's a completely different photography theme.
Yeah. Please come into my dungeon. He said it was a studio. He didn't say it was a dungeon. Oh, sorry.
Bro, I didn't know you had a dungeon.
No, I don't have a dungeon. But But yeah.
You went from portrait straight to BDSM. Larry, buddy, what are you doing?
But wasn't it to 2022? I was assisting on a shoot as a makeup artist there.
Yeah.
And then she was saying, no, I told her, no, I've got an apartment. Be great to take photographs, but it's a bit weird, like asking people to come back to a house to take photographs. And then she goes, no, it's not weird at all, because she's done like makeup for like models, like put photos and stuff like that. It's actually quite common for people to take shots in a home. So she encouraged me. So there's that Facebook group, you know, the Melbourne models and whatever it is. So I just posted an ad on there saying, shooting from my home, blah, 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 details. So I thought if I were to disclose that I'm shooting in my home apartment in Docklands,
Yeah.
if someone were to come, then that means they're comfortable coming into my space.
Yeah, 100%.
Which means that I feel more comfortable, because I don't want people to come in and feel like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to feel bad, you know what I mean? But if you know it's a house, you can bring a friend.
Just
I
pack the
don't mind.
BDSM stuff
Yeah, that's
up
right.
in a cupboard.
Oh, the chains and whips and stuff, yeah, under my bed, you know.
That's a different theme.
Just don't ask me to get anything out of my cupboard.
Keep the infrared light turned off.
You know what I have? You know those that Halo neck
Yeah.
device that like Joe Rogan has? I
Yeah.
had like one of those.
Oh.
And I just think like
Why did you have one of them?
like for neck. So I do jiu-jitsu for like neck training.
Right.
Yeah. So I haven't really used it much, but I bought one of those, and it's like, and I'm very like hesitant to have it like visible anywhere, because there's a weird contraption. It's got like a chain on it, and it's sort of like it's an exercise apparatus. But if people gonna see it, they're gonna go like, "What the fuck is this?" So I make sure like
You should
I hide it.
you should have it out because it's a fucking conversation starter.
Yeah, I should.
You'd be like, "Oh, it's used to train your neck. Why do you need to train your neck?" Oh, because
Let me show you as I draw the
'cause
curtains.
No!
No, there's not how to make someone feel
that's-
comfortable.
No. You're like, no, I'd like train for jiu-jitsu.
All right, 2 men rolling on the floor. Just sounds better as it goes along.
100%. You never know. You may find
Yeah.
another male that was like, hey, I do jiu-jitsu as well. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah,
Or a girl.
or a girl. I mean, I've been beat up by girls in jiu-jitsu.
Bro, I did jiu-jitsu. I did jiu-jitsu pre-COVID, and then obviously during COVID stopped. But like one of my first classes, I did like the introductory, an introductory, and then I did like beginner classes, and then I was like, I think my 4th class, I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna fucking go the next one up, right? And
The more advanced class, you mean?
yeah, more advanced. And during the sparring session, because they're like, you have to like pair up with
Someone. Yeah.
a similar body type, right? Because I didn't know anyone. As we're kind of like we're doing the rounds, and then one round, I couldn't pair up with someone, same height as me. So I paired up with this like little Asian girl, and
And the humbling began.
oh yeah, the humbling, holy shit!
Hi, Felix. Nice to meet you.
No. Like I had we were on the ground,
Yeah.
and she got behind me, and I was like, I know she's only this tall, so I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna shake her off.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, the massive ego. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I stood up. She was behind me. I literally nearly fainted because she choked me piggyback style.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
She was a savage.
Yeah, those guys feel small. They'll fuck you up.
Yeah. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu definitely advantages like shorter people. One, because your limbs are smaller, but you can be more nimble, And I think that's one of the key what's the word? Like influences, or one of those key kind of things that people look to for like UFC. There's no like height advantage. If anything,
it depends. Like different body types have different advantages. So like if you're small, then obviously up against a guy who's bigger, you have more space. You can sort of squeal out, like get out of spaces that a bigger guy can't. Because of a guy who's bigger gonna give you more space and more gaps in between your legs. And if you're smaller, you can take advantage of it that a bigger guy can't. But the thing is, and there's certain kind of like, for example, if you're doing a triangle with shorter legs, like for example me, it's so hard to get around someone who's bigger. But once you get it locked in, it's so tight because my legs are so short. There's like hardly any space to get out. So once you get it locked in, it's almost guaranteed you're gonna get it. But the trouble is getting it. Now with taller guys, you got longer legs. It's easier to like get your legs around someone and to entangle them.
Yeah.
But if you're smaller, if you have that reflex time, because as the legs are closing up, because the bigger space to cover, there's opportunity to slip out. So every body type has,
Yeah,
so big guys,
disadvantage. Yeah,
but I would say if I had to do jiu-jitsu, I'd rather be like heavier and a bit longer. You know what I mean? When you have your guard and stuff like that, it's probably like more advantages.
How long you been doing jiu-jitsu?
For 8 years, on and off. I'm a very bad student. I just blew a blue belt.
Yeah,
I just do it like, as a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like fun, So I've been doing that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I get beat up a lot, but I just focus on defense. So I'm so hard to submit.
yeah.
When as someone with my obviously like the advanced guys who submit me like pretty quick. I mean, there's no real contest.
Yeah.
But I'm not hard. I'm pretty hard to submit for my level.
Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
man.
But it's good fun because it's physical. Plus, you get to use your brain and problem solve. And
Yeah.
someone's moving all the time. So
So do you go gi or no gi?
no gi. I started with gi, but it's very frustrating because like you spend a whole round just trying to break grips because people are holding on to your gi.
Yeah.
So you need to break it. Whereas like no gi is it's more interesting. It's more dynamic.
Yeah.
I find it more interesting because as I say, gi is frustrating. Like a lot of people grab your thing and then like obviously once they grab your gi, they're controlling you. You don't want someone to control you.
Yeah.
So the first thing, or one of the main things, you want to break their grip because that's their advantage.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to spend like, break the grip, then I get another grip like 2 seconds later on, then I got to break it. Then the whole round, I'm just like breaking grips, and it's just like not very fun at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not training for competition, not trying to be a professional. I do it for fun. Whereas like no-gi, there's a lot more moving, a lot more transitions. So
Where do you train?
St Kilda, Absolute MMA
Oh yeah, okay. I went to Absolute MMA
in Collingwood.
on
City.
City,
The
yeah,
City
in the
one,
city,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
But
cool.
do you do any like jiu-jitsu, any other sports?
No, I just go to the gym and I've been doing Bikram yoga. I used to play heaps of basketball, but
How's Bikram yoga going?
it's tough, man.
That's the one where that's hot room, you're sweating in 1 hour.
Yeah. Like my flexibility is not that great.
How long have you done it for?
Well, I did it pre-COVID, and then I stopped, and then I started up again probably about 4 months ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
How often do you go? 4 times a week? Not bad.
I try to go at least once a week. I need to up it to like 2, but it's just hard.
But you can still do it at home because once you go enough, you sort of know like the basic flow.
Yeah.
So you don't have a hot room, but you can do it at home if you want to. And
Yeah.
there's lots of tutorials on the YouTube. So I mean, once you sort of get the general gist of it, just slap on a YouTube video. And
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. But the thing is, you need to do it. That's the habit. That's the habit thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
I know. I got way too much editing to do. So what inspires you?
within what context?
Uh,
How's the time going? So
photography wise, no, someone just messaged me.
okay. It feels like we're talking for more than half an hour. As
Right.
in-
Bro, we've been going for an hour and 26 minutes.
but don't you need to stop and then start?
No, that's got a remote timer.
I thought you had to like, it's going to stop, then you go and start it.
Nah, remote timer.
Okay, that's good.
I don't want to have to get up.
I was
Fuck
going like,
that.
has this been like half an hour?
An
It's been
An
hour and a
hour
half.
and 26 minutes.
So what? So yeah, okay,
Who inspires you
just in general or within the creative space?
in the creative space, photography
Um,
wise, or
I mean, my favorite photographers will be Peter Lindbergh, Paolo Reversi, and Irving Penn. Are you familiar with?
No.
Oh, you know Peter Lindbergh.
Yeah, I
know
know
his work.
Peter.
So Paolo Reversi, he's an Italian fashion photographer based in Paris. He's about 74 years old now. So he does like very artsy stuff, very like out of focus, very ethereal kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like very nice lighting. It's not your typical like fully focused and sharp, fashion photography. Something of low of emotion, like very calm, very relaxed.
Yeah.
And then the other guy would be Irving Penn. Do you know Irving Penn?
No.
Very famous like fashion photographer from New York. He died, I'm not sure, maybe 10 years ago at the age like 90, 92.
Wow.
But he's a very famous photographer. Did primarily like black and white for like his fashion and portraits, color for his advertising commercial shoots.
Yep.
But worked on like large format, medium format cameras. But yeah, I say those are my main influences like over the last few years. Well, probably like a long time, 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
Very-
that's
very long.
awesome.
So my stuff is a little black and white inspired. I wouldn't say inspired by them, but I look at their work and sort of like pick out what they're doing and sort of try to incorporate a little bit. But
Yep. Yep.
I don't want to copy anyone. So I do look at a lot of like work of other photographers, but not so much people who are trendy, like more the great masters or people from like the early 1900s or 1950s or 70s. Only because their work sort of incorporates a little bit more of the art fundamentals in there.
Yeah.
Composition, shade, light and tone and texture. There's a bit more like artistic skill involved. You know what I mean? It's not just about vibes. I mean, obviously the photographs have feelings, but there are more technical aspects that you can learn from.
Yeah.
So I always recommend for people who want to learn photography, look at the old masters. Not saying that you have to copy their work. That's not what I'm suggesting. But look at the work just for the fundamentals, like for balance and simplicity and those art fundamentals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can use those basic stuff and bring it over into your photography.
I think that's really good sound advice because we don't have to get so complicated.
Yeah.
about having all these multiple layers over our techniques.
Yeah.
Like if you just stick to the basics and you focus on finessing the basics,
Yeah.
then it doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, like recently, if someone were to ask me for advice, okay, I haven't done photography before, I want to start doing photography, any advice? I would just say, like, keep it simple. Let's say for example, if someone says I want to do like portrait photography, what I would say is, like, first thing, you just need to find a space to shoot in. Say if it's your apartment, say for example, I just say, like, choose a spot in the apartment where the lighting is good.
I know a guy who's got an apartment who does portrait photography.
Do you? Yeah, but basically, but not me, but someone else. I'll just say, like, just find a spot, like in your apartment or somewhere where after some testing you find a light is good where you like it,
Yeah.
and just use it over and over again.
Yeah.
And if the light's not working well, try to modify it. Or the light is good, work with it and just try to enhance it and get familiar with it before you go to another lighting situation. Especially when you're dealing with people, I think if you can find one spot where the lighting is good, the environment is good, just use it over and over again, because it makes life easier for you, because the lighting and the ambience is taken care of. So when you're taking photographs, there's a consideration that's not on your brain. Then you can focus on working with the person and making small refinements to the environment.
Exactly.
And you just do it over and over again. And over time, the more time you spend in that space, the more you're going to notice the nuances of the light. You're going to master it a little bit more.
It's the reason why I've done so many shoots here.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a couple of photographer mates who they're like, oh, how can you shoot in the same spot like all of the time? And I'm like, bro, I know time of year, time of day, the season, like what movements work best, because I've covered it all. I know everything. And then I know the camera settings, I know everything, and
but you learn lessons because there's a consistency in light. You know how to master that kind of lighting conditions.
Yeah.
Then once you have that in your back pocket, once you master it, then you go to another thing. Then
Correct.
become familiar and intimate with it. Then it's nothing in your pocket.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But it's something you build over time. Whereas the other situation of, like, you are swapping and changing all the time, different location. You don't have time to you don't develop the sensitivity to the nuances of the light.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, when you're more experienced, it's different because you got so much experience. You are very sensitive to the light, and you can read it with your eyes. You don't need to get photographed to confirm what you see with your eyes. You just know.
Exactly.
But we're just talking about beginners here. It's a different story.
Yeah.
Keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
The less variables you have to deal with, the easier it's going to be for your mental load.
Yeah.
The better you're going to do, especially dealing with people. Actually, the hardest thing is actually dealing with that person.
Yeah.
Or the most challenging thing, anyway.
Exactly.
Put them at ease. How to direct them. Where to position them in relation to light, that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it then turns into more about managing the photo shoot.
Yep.
And managing the people on the photo shoot. If you can finesse that approach, and as we said before, like, every person's different, so every person you may need to make slight minor adjustments, in the way that you manage, the individual, like on the day. So if you're just focusing on that and you're not having to worry about everything else, then that's great,
Yeah, and
that gives you a better opportunity to get better photos.
Yep.
It's
almost, this is an extreme example. But it's almost like guys who, the story about a guy who works in a sushi shop in Japan, where he spends 4 years doing rice. It's probably excessive in my opinion, but the story. You're an apprentice.
I used to work in a Japanese kitchen, and
Same kind of thing?
I washed rice for 1 year.
Yeah. But whether you need to do like 1 year or 4 years as they do in like Japan, the benefit I don't know, but the concept of, like, if you just do rice all the time, after a while you're gonna understand rice better than someone who does it for a month. You know what I mean?
100%.
Right. And then once you do the rice, then you do the other thing. Then that's all
you
you're
do
doing.
the vegetables.
But then you master all these components. Then years down the track,
Then you do the chicken, and then you can make a chicken teriyaki
And I
with
think,
tempura.
and I think with yeah,
That's exactly how it went
yeah,
down.
exactly, yeah. Well, I worked at McDonald's before, and I was on the chicken. When I was in high school, I worked at McDonald's,
Yeah.
and I was always on the filet or fish McChicken and
Yeah.
apple pie station.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, and after a while, you know how to deal with all the hot stuff because you know
yeah.
that station is different from the other stations. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about now, but at the time, we had like this fucking.
I'm sure it's all fucking like
It's all right.
computerized.
But back in the day, you had like those French fry baskets.
Yeah.
It was something similar to that, but it was like a cage with like these doors that open. It's like a full cast iron. You had to flip open this cage with your hand and slide in like the hot pies,
Right.
then flick it closed and then put it in. And then we took it out of the hot oil.
And
you
then
could
have to-
you can't fries. You just go upside down, falls out. But this one's like you have to open this like small latch to get the pies out. And every time you put like the thing, the little basket into the oil because it's like frozen McChicken, frozen nuggets, frozen apple pies.
Yeah.
You know, cold ice and oil means things like spray up.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
always used to get burnt like. But
I
after
still have oil scars from my Japanese cooking days.
yeah, it's like
I like that shit.
fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I used to hate it.
Yeah.
But after a while, you get to understand it. But it was like really shit. Larry, is it Larry?
Yeah, that's Larry.
Larry.
He's got his own Instagram account
Yeah.
because I have that many photos of him and half naked women.
All right. And in the private folder is Larry in bikini.
Ah! I've got a
Larry.
I've got a little sailor's outfit for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He thinks
Hello.
he's a dog.
My brother has a rag doll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very cute. But every time I get there, I just feel like I've got fur over my face. Even though it's not how to wash my face, my face feel like really itchy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But because he emotes a lot. I mean, he emotes a little bit, but the rag dolls, like you just go like this, and you go like, what the fuck's on my hair? And
Yeah,
clump
yeah,
of hair.
yeah. So plans for this year. So you mentioned that you want to get more into like the boudoir type stuff. What else?
I just focus on more black and white photographs, but just to refine my technique. So now I've been like slowly incorporating some constant lights into my shoots.
Yeah,
Because at the moment I use like natural light.
yeah,
So I want to start using like some continuous lights
yeah.
and sort of like mixing it together.
Mix them together. Yeah,
That's one thing. It's like another refinement to my technique, and start using more strobe lighting as well.
Yeah.
So I've been doing experimenting on like still life stuff, but I pray like this month coming, I'll probably get some people to come in just do some test shoots using my strobes, and then focus on doing like actor headshots just for some money making.
Mm.
So I'm sort of doing portraits as well. So the actor headshots are sort of like in the same vein, dealing with people.
Mm.
And I started working on making some custom hand painted backdrops.
I did see that.
Yeah, so I've been working like
That's pretty cool.
yeah. So I bought like a whole bunch of like very small like palettes just to practice like painting, like mark making, texture making.
Yeah.
It's all new to me, so I don't really paint. But those two final examples that I posted on my Instagram, I think those are my final versions that I'm going to go for.
Yeah.
So I'll make like 2 meters high by 1.5 wide canvases with those two designs and shades.
Yeah.
They look good and look fine in color, and they look good in black and white as well. Then over time, I'll start making like more and more ones, like different textures and different colors.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my plan. And then
So you're not going to travel to London?
I might go back. I always think about going back.
No one's there. They're all here.
Yeah, mate. Hey, can I take a break to go to the toilet? Is that right? I've been busting for the last half hour.
Yeah.
So I thought you had like a manual timer. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna wait till he gets up and stops it, and I can go for a break.
Well, we've been going for an hour and 38 minutes. Can you hold on for 5 more minutes? Because
Okay, you can wrap up.
We're just gonna
okay.
We'll just wrap up.
Yep.
Fuck it. You go to the toilet.
You wanna go?
I'll go to the
Okay,
toilet
okay,
as
okay.
well, and then we'll wrap up when we come back. You good?
I now feel much better after relieving myself. It's pressure off my bladder.
And we're back.
We're back in the fact.
We're back for 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Do you have like a time limit, hour and a half? Is that what you go for? Is that what you aim for?
Yeah, an hour and a half. I got to go pick up my daughter. So
Oh, she lives here with you?
no. But I have her for the weekend.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. But
So yeah, back to
yeah. So you're doing backdrops.
backdrops.
You want to play
Like the
more with
headshot.
like different kind of lighting setups.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so good, man. Like, it sounds exciting because you're trying lots of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then because I'm sort of fairly new to doing assisting, so my work, some freelance work, so it's not like it's not super regular. So I'm trying to meet like more photographers.
Yeah.
So like some months are good, some months you get a few jobs. Like I had like 9 jobs in January, 6 last month. This
Yeah.
month I've had like 8. You know what I mean? But I sort of need to get 8 consistently, but sort of like up and down.
Yeah.
And so I've been leaning it very heavily on my savings. So I've been thinking like, potentially doing some part-time work in the office just to like cover my rent and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then leave a few days free for assisting. But I don't, so I'm at the junction of like, do I want to keep using my savings like in hope? Because if I was in this position but last year's finances, I'll say I'll carry on for like another year.
Yeah.
Like, no problem. I don't mind taking that hit.
Yeah.
And the junction is like, what do I do? So yeah, so I'll give it like another 2 months, I suppose, and then we'll see how it goes. Then if not,
Who knows? You might be your canvas backdrop business may
Maybe.
skyrocket.
but I need a studio. So I'm painting in my apartment, and I'm only renting, and I can't get like paint in the walls.
Mm.
Yeah, so that, and then, but I think if I get a part-time job, no matter what, I'll still do my creative process.
Yeah.
So I sort of see myself as an artist, and the job is just a job,
Yeah.
not a guy who's doing art as part-time.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
an artist, but the job would just be the extra stuff I need to do to survive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's
exactly.
not my priority.
Exactly.
I think I've already made that mental shift now. Whereas before it's like, I'm just like an office worker, and then, I have aspirations to do something like creative.
Yeah.
But now my mindset is different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I don't have kids. I'm not married, so I got that freedom. I have no intention to start a family. So I think I have that freedom to do something. So I'm going to maximize it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. How can people find you?
Just on my Instagram account, Jonas Wong Official. And I have a website, jonaswong.com as well.
Oh, you got a website.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Jonas Wong.
That's
I
cool.
thought it'd be taken, but I have my full name on my website. It's good.
Mate, that's great.
Yeah.
So can people buy your backdrop canvases on your website?
No, I've only just started.
Oh.
But I'm not gonna sell it or rent it. It's just for me. It's like custom stuff for me to use. You know what I mean? It's like I need to differentiate myself in some way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Plus, it's very personal. It's like artwork. I think it's very personal. So I don't want to share it to someone else. So it gets devalued. Becomes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
I think if it's personal, isn't it more valuable? Because it's a one-off piece.
It's one of piece, but it's only for me. It's for my personal use.
Oh, okay.
It's like if I have I have aspirations to have my own photo studio as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of people I know who have studios, they're rented out on the days not using it.
Yeah.
But I'm a real like old school artist mentality. It's like that. The studio is a sacred space for me to create my stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to rent it out because then someone else is coming into my personal space, which is mine. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that's the way I see it. So
So if anybody needs any portraits or headshots,
come see me.
Go see Jonas.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's it. That's the end.
That's cool, man. All right.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. It's great to like hear your story and, like the process that you went through.
Yeah.
COVID hit and you fucking had to adjust, so you did.
Yeah.
And so.
But yeah, so I might be here for another year, 2 years, then back to London, I'll say.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's
so
cool.
you want your portraits. Time's ticking.
Get
That's my hard sell. So I'm not a good salesperson. That's my hard sell.
exclusive. You got to get in now. Thanks everyone for listening in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.
Bye.